The Equality State Policy Center. Dan, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm quite well. Nice sunny day down here in Casper.
Okay. Well, thanks for being with us. Now, it's been a while since we've interviewed you, so you want to just refresh our listeners' memories as to what the Equality State Policy Center is about and kind of what you do?
Sure. We are a public interest group, a charitable nonprofit organization that is a coalition of organizations from around the state. We have a lot of conservation groups, civil and social justice groups, and unions that are members, and a lot of individuals then join the group as well, and we try to provide an independent voice for Wyoming people. And in the process of doing that, we do a lot of work on government accountability, just trying to make sure that government serves the people that elects it, and then we also do a fair amount of civic participation work where we try to get people to get involved. And for example, we're doing a citizen lobbyist training in Cheyenne. This is something we do every legislative session. We'll do it on February 15th, where we give a one-day workshop on the workings of the legislature and tell people how they can influence the policymaking that occurs down there. So, just as a plug, I'd encourage people to think about joining us for that training.
Now, where is that training?
It's we'll be doing it at the Plains again this year.
Okay, it's in Cheyenne as opposed to Casper.
On February 15th, and among other things, we get a number of sitting legislators to come down, and they conduct a mock committee hearing that people can participate in. It's quite instructive and a lot of fun. A nice, easy way to figure out some of the details of the elegant legislative process.
Did you say elegant legislative process?
Elegant. I view it as an elegant process.
Really? Okay. Now that's the first time I've ever heard as a legislative process of being elegant. Usually they say you don't want to watch legislation being made or sausage being made, but you and no one ever described the sausage making process as elegant. At least I've never heard it before. But anyway, in order to go to your lobbyist training, do you have to be a member of your organization, or is that open?
No, it's open to anyone. You can register on our website. That's equalitystate.org, and there's also some details there about it. You can get a sense of what it's like. We typically see people from a lot of nonprofit organizations come to this. We have a number of students that come. We've had Vista and AmeriCorps volunteers attend in the past, and then just interested individuals, including a couple years ago, we had a woman from Kemmer who self-described as a housewife who just was interested and came over for the day and liked the training. We start at 8 in the morning, go till about 2:30, and then we take people up to the Capitol for a tour. And we've got some experienced lobbyists that conduct the workshop and then also help with those tours. So it's instructive, and I invite people that are interested to take a look at it and give some thought.
Okay, now, certainly you can't, in just a couple of minutes here, give us and tell us everything you go over in a full day there. But if you were to just identify what you consider to be the most important thing for a citizen lobbyist to do, what would be the most important thing to do? And conversely, if you were to tell them what is the most important thing for you to avoid, what would that be?
Right. Okay. Well, the workshop starts with just basic civics, which describes the process, and then we give instruction on how to testify to a committee, and that's probably the thing that people need to focus on the most, and that's developing their key message on the issue they're interested in, so that they can deliver it quickly and as concisely as possible. And the other thing we always tell people is that legislators love to hear from citizens from back home, particularly from their home districts. They're continuously being approached by lobbyists who've been there for many years. They know them well, but they love it when they hear from their constituents. So I would say the best thing a person can do is figure out when an issue that they're interested in is going to be coming up, that they contact their own legislator and let them know how they feel about it. And so this dovetails with the idea that, you should get to know your legislator a little bit before the session begins. Not absolutely necessary, but, you're trying to build a relationship there. The thing that we always urge people not to do is engage in a personal attack or promise a legislator that they'll ensure their defeat if they don't vote the way they want them to. Like I say, the idea is to try to be as persuasive and convincing as you can, and then you have to understand that at some point someone may just disagree with you and not vote the way you want to. So we urge people not to take the process personally and then just assume that if someone doesn't understand their issue, there's probably just an education process.
How many years have you all been doing this?
Oh, the ESPC, I think, has been doing this since the late 1990s. I've been with the ESPC since 2005. We've done it every year since then. There was one year where I thought, well, maybe we've come to the end of it. We had fewer than 20 people there, but the last few years we've had 50 to 65 people, and some of that I think is just that we've been doing a better job of trying to promote it. So
just looking back on this, do you find that for folks that may be giving some consideration to running for the legislature, this is kind of going to your training and then actually testifying and lobbying kind of gives them maybe a little bit of feel as to whether they want to devote 60 days every 2 years. Of course, it's a lot more than that because you got committee hearings and stuff like that to devote the time that it takes to be in a legislator.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it gives you a real up close understanding, and I think for potential candidates, it makes clear that a lot of people really don't understand how it works. So I think people are thinking about becoming candidates have some sense of it already. I think if they came to our workshop, they'd see that many people are mystified by the legislative process. They're intimidated by the fact that they're around people that have been working in the Capitol for years, some of them legislators, some of them lobbyists, who they assume know a lot more than them, and which may or may not be true. And so I think it's a good way for a potential candidate to get a sense of how the system works, but also how the public perceives it.
Okay, now, of course, you're going to be down there lobbying during the session. There are a whole lot of issues there, some of which you've had news releases about, one of which had to do with, it wasn't specifically economic development, but it had to do with subsidies that are part of economic development. And you didn't rate the state very highly in terms of what it was doing, did you?
Well, what we did there, we joined with a national group called Good Jobs First, which went out and rated state programs that provided direct subsidies to businesses. So they rated a program like the manufacturing sales tax exemption, which exempts a business from a sales tax on equipment they buy that is used in the manufacturing process. So, and this is the way our legislature gets around a constitutional provision against giving money directly to a business. Is in fact, rather than giving them a check, they simply don't collect a tax. Our view is it's the same thing. The state is foregoing revenue that it otherwise would get. So these what the Good Jobs First looked at these, rated the states on, was whether states had job creation standards and good job quality standards, like asking that if you're going to take take a subsidy, then are you going to be paying people a living wage, a middle class wage? Do they get health benefits with the job? And then job creation standards sort of like, okay, if you take X amount of dollars, how many jobs will you create with that? Our programs don't have those standards. Virtually none of those standards. The other thing they were rated on was enforcement. So it was. So our state ranks low because we don't impose any standards. I mean, anybody who qualifies for the manufacturing sales tax exemption can apply for it. And so what happened was we saw an exemption which we believe originally was aimed at attracting business to the state, most of that in the last 3 years or so, most of that exemption was paid to refining companies that already exist in the state. And we know that the refining company down in Cheyenne, while it was taking these tax subsidies, actually reduced its payroll by something like 40 positions down there. So we think the state ought to take a look at these programs and say, are they doing what we want them to do? Now, we would hope that something like that, some thinking about this would come up during this session, but this being a budget session, I don't think we're going to see them revisit this issue this year. We'll be looking for opportunities to talk to legislators and maybe point them towards the 2013 session, where we'd say, let's think about putting some of these standards in place with these programs.
Do you find a rising level of interest in having some accountability for the monies that go out for under the guise of economic development?
Well, I think so, and I think that's why I think this rating hit a little bit of a raw nerve with some of the economic development professionals, because they immediately then pointed to the Business Ready Communities program, which is a program that does not provide direct subsidies to businesses. So it was not part of the Good Jobs First rating. So, but that's what they immediately wanted to talk about. It sort of reminded me of the guy who has diabetes. When you ask him how he's doing, he says, "Well, my arms and legs are working fine." The Business Ready Communities program, which we think could have more of these job quality standards in it. Some do, some don't, but have more of these job quality standards in it. It actually was not rated by Good Jobs First because the money goes to communities, which then invest in infrastructure. And even though sometimes I think some of it's a little bit of a wink and a nod basis because they build a building for a specific company to come in, yet the local community will still own that building. So they have to do it this way because of the constitutional provision against giving a direct subsidy to a private individual. I mean, the only people the state are allowed to give money to directly are the poor.
So you don't really have that much of a problem with the business-ready communities where they come in and build some infrastructure in the hopes of being ready for a business when they come, whether it's the Verizon proposal down in Laramie, and I guess they've never spent the money there, but they would put in the infrastructure of the streets, water and sewer, that kind of stuff, as I understand it. Or we've done some of that up here in Sheridan, where they kind of put in the infrastructure, but the subsidy doesn't go directly to the business, as opposed to where the monies go pretty much directly to the business by not having them pay sales tax on there.
Right. No, we don't. I mean, like I say, we would like to. We would prefer it if the state said, "Look, if you take this money, we think that you have to tell the businesses that take advantage of this infrastructure that if they come in, that they have to provide high quality jobs." I mean, I don't think it does the community a lot of good if a business comes in and provides jobs that are paying minimum wage or $8, $9, or $10 an hour. We need jobs that pay people enough to live, so that they then don't have to fall back on the state safety net in order to get by. So we think that's where the job quality standards should come. But, we're not opposed to economic development efforts. We think it's good for the state to try to diversify, but we think it should be done smartly and with expectations that businesses will meet some performance standards. I mean, we think it's the same kind of deal that happens in the business world where two businesses end into a contract. They expect both sides to behave in a way that does both of them good. And, it doesn't do us any good if we're attracting businesses that don't pay our people well to work.
Okay. So you're just basically saying it's that WIFM, what's in it for me, and the state ought to be asking what's in it for me and making sure there is something in it for them, for the state.
That's right. I think that, we can, we just shouldn't be giving money away.
Okay. Dan, could you hold on? We need to take a break for a couple of words from some of our sponsors. Be back with Dan Neal, and we've got a caller for you, and we'll put that caller on with you as soon as we get done with this break. Our guest again, Dan Neal, Executive Director of the Equality State Policy Center. You're listening to Public Pulse on News Talk 930 KROE Sheridan.